and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker, where I'm going to be looking at teas and kind of opening up to all the possibilities that teas provide for us or allow us to see in our lives and in our taste buds and beyond our taste buds. So I've got a white tea today. I'm going to be scooping out enough. I've got my gaiwan here. My water's been brought to a boil. It's been cooling. And I'm going to scoop out enough. This is, as you can see, this is kind of a bulky, fluffy type of leaf. It's not tightly compact or tightly wound, wrapped. So I'm going to scrape out enough just here to cover the bottom, the usual inch to inch and a half diameter of the bottom of my 4-ounce gaiwan here. Let me add my water. So my water is warm, but not too hot that it would be cooking the tea itself. So that should be good. Let me get this out of the way. A little bit of water should also be resting just above the rim of the lid. I think that helps to create a seal, preventing air from reacting, changing the color of the liquor too much as I'm waiting for this to steep a little bit. Now, talking about this tea, this is from DarjeelingTeaExpress, a company that I have not looked at before. This is their first flush, 2011. This is a Thurbo Estate White Delight. You can find a sample. A sample size is clearly marked as 10 grams, and it is available for $7 on the DarjeelingTeaExpress website. Again, this is from the Thurbo Estate, the first flush, and so this is a 2011 tea. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at this tea and talking about the usual aspects, the dry leaf, the wet leaf, and the liquor, telling us about quality. But as we learn about quality, it also allows you to be more aware of our sensory experiences, the smell, the taste, the touch, the colors. So let's talk about some of those. First off, aromas that I'm getting associations of like a sweet spice, like an allspice. Maybe you will detect a little bit of clove. There's also a floral aspect. There's a little bit of a rose, or there could be what you may detect as a little bit of the traditional characteristic muscat. There's a grape. That floral grape type of smell, not an artificial grape flavoring, but a true sweet grape type of smell. Looking at these leaves, so looking at the leaves and talking about the dry leaves, I'm noticing here that I'm getting aromas characteristic or very similar to what is often found with Darjeeling type teas. Looking at these leaves, this is where we get into the white aspect. You see a lot of fuzzy, silvery colored needles. And actually, I'm seeing a lot of fuzz. I'm seeing a lot of tippy aspects to this tea. And I would go so far as to say what looks like around 40% of it. The other parts are bright green, maybe with a slight tinge of yellow. Not quite chartreuse, that type of yellowish aspect, more green. And then a little bit of a darker, kind of a more closer towards an olive green, a little bit of that kind of darker green color. Leaf portions, the leaf aspects leaves are not necessarily, for the most part, complete. They are sections of leaves. A lot of those fuzzy tips or fuzzy needles do seem to be, for the most part, intact or very close to fully intact. And then the rest are those leaf portions of varying degree of green color. They do kind of, and looking down, I also see where some leaves are trailing over towards more of a light brownish type color. So you have a variety of colors, and you do have a variety of colors when you look at a Darjeeling as well, a regular first flush black tea Darjeeling. Now I'm going to get ready to pour here, and what I'm doing is I'm kind of moving leaves away from the edge using my lid so that I get a nice smooth pour without a lot of leaf portions in there. So I'm going to hold on to my lid with my index finger, pressing down there. Get a nice smooth pour, just like so. That looks good. Now I'm going to be able to talk about this wet leaf a little bit. And get my lid out, kind of move it over here to the side, because I got plenty of heat coming off of this, so I'm not worried too much about it cooling quickly. Still similar smells, still that allspice, still a lot, quite a bit of that kind of clove aspect, that, like, again, that sweet. So there's a bit of still some grape aspect you could detect. Think about grape skins. If you were to smell the skins of the grape, not necessarily eating the grape, but if you were just to kind of peel open a grape and smell it, or smell the skin surface. Okay. Going ahead now, so I'm going to pull out a few of those tips that I talked about noticing in the dry leaf. Here's actually a tip and leaf pair, needle and bud, leaf and bud pair there. So that's worth pulling out. Leaves. An example of a leaf that has some blotchy rust type colors, indicating there's some bruising that took place, a little bit of oxidation took place here. Let me pull out just a few more. Again, more little tips or portions of tips. Leaves that are rolled up into a scroll type shape. They're kind of curled into the middle vein of the leaf. Here's another full size, larger leaf. Very delicate, fragile, already torn some. Yeah, easily tears with a little bit of tug, not a lot of elasticity there. So that really kind of gives us a fairly decent, sufficient overview of what the wet leaves look like and their characteristics. So I'm going to put this aside and move on now to my liquor here. Let me give that a swirl, kind of get some of the steam off the sides of the cup there. Noticing bright yellow colors, moving over, some brightness there, but moving over towards a more of a honey type. There's a bit more of a golden type yellow to this. I'm noticing little filaments there floating around, little fuzz that probably washed off of those needles that's floating around. Looks like very fine particles. Let's go ahead and we'll give it a smell. Mostly, a lot of that grape skin type aspect coming out here. That may come off to some people as a little bit of a rose, sweet, fragrant rose type smell. Okay. Looking down into the cup as well, good brightness. This is not dull, not flat. Okay. Let's give it a taste here. Still, first thing that hit, and it was mild. There is that allspice, grape type sweetness that hits first. It makes me think of the allspice kind of clove aspect. Makes me think of some of the homemade sweet pickle recipes that are out there. Body or texture, pretty good as far as there's some coating that's going on in my mouth. What happens in the aftertaste is that coating, it stays, but it shifts over towards more of a kind of a drying, astringent type aspect, which builds with this kind of almost creamy type feel in the mouth. It's like there's something that's heavy that's sitting there, like as if you were eating some kind of clotted cream, sour cream, that kind of texture that's really just sitting on your mouth and the back of your throat. So when you combine a little bit of that, let me get to this one more shot here. So when I look at the texture, the aromas, the aftertastes here, they blend fairly well together. They move over towards a little bit of that heaviness, combined with a slight rise in astringency towards the back. And when you get those two together, that increasing astringency, that heavy cream type feel, and the way it sits on the stomach, there's a slight sense of acidity that's building up on my stomach as well. So with those, it's got some nice qualities, yet this is the kind of tea that I see why it was carried on further to become often used for a black tea. I would give this tea a 90. It's got some nice components to it. Again, that aftertaste and the interplay, that musical chair action that's happening with the texture, the astringency, and just the way it sits on the stomach. There's something that's a little bit off for me. So come back to Walker Tea Review, where we look at teas that run the gamut, open us up to new ideas, and explore our sense of taste as well.